I'm sitting at the kitchen sink with lukewarm water running over a stack of plates that don't even need washing. They're already clean. I washed them this morning. I just don't like silence, and the water gives me something to listen to. The house feels too big now. It didn't always feel like this. It used to be loud. Footsteps on the stairs, a refrigerator door opening every 5 minutes, someone always asking where something went, someone always needing me. Now it's just me and the hum of this faucet. I'm 68 years old. I still wake up expecting noise. I still set out 3 mugs when I make coffee without thinking. Then I stop and stand there like an idiot looking at empty chairs. My hands are wrinkled now, veins like blue rivers under thin skin. I stare at them sometimes and try to remember when they were young and fast and always doing something for someone else. My phone is on the counter. It hasn't rung this morning. It probably won't. It hasn't been ringing much for a long time. I keep washing the same plate again, like it might change something. That's how my life has been lately, doing the same things and hoping they turn into different outcomes. I used to live in a full house in suburban Ohio. White fence, 2-story home my husband and I bought when we thought we were building something permanent. I raised 2 kids there, a daughter named Melissa and a son named Brandon. I cooked every meal in that kitchen. I packed every lunch. I signed every permission slip. I drove to every game and every recital and every school meeting. My husband, Richard, used to come home from work, loosen his tie, and kiss my forehead like we were still new. 42 years of marriage. That number used to feel like a badge of honor. Now it feels like a joke I'm not in on. It started small. That's what I always think about when I try to find the moment everything broke. People imagine betrayal, like a hammer hitting glass. But in my life, it was more like a crack that spread so slowly, I didn't notice until I was already standing in ruins. Melissa started calling less. At first, I told myself she was busy. She had a job, a husband, a baby, my granddaughter Sophie. I told myself that's what happens. Kids grow up and leave you behind a little. But then the calls changed when they did happen. Short, controlled, like she was checking a box. Hi, Mom. We're fine. Sophie's good. Gotta go. No questions about me anymore. No asking how I slept. No laughter. Just transactions. Brandon stopped visiting as much after he got married. His wife, Jenna, never really liked me. I could feel it in the way she smiled too tightly and corrected things I said like I was a child. Still, I kept trying. I made casseroles. I offered babysitting. I gave money when they needed it. I told myself that's what mothers do. Richard told me I was overthinking it. You're too sensitive, he said once while reading the paper. They are adults now. Let them live. So I did. Or at least I tried. But then came the missing things. At first it was small. A checkbook that I swore I left in my desk drawer. A statement from the bank that didn't look right. A withdrawal I didn't remember making. Richard told me I must have forgotten. That's what he always said when something didn't fit. You're getting older, he would say gently. Happens to all of us. I started writing things down after that. Dates, numbers, notes. I kept a little notebook in the kitchen drawer, like I was trying to prove my own life to myself. Then one morning, Melissa showed up without calling. That should have made me happy. It didn't. She looked tense, not like a daughter visiting her mother, like someone coming to inspect something. She sat at my kitchen table and didn't take off her coat. Mom, she said, we need to talk about the house. I remember laughing a little because I thought she was joking. What about the house, I asked. She didn't meet my eyes. Dad said you two were thinking of downsizing. He said you wanted to move closer to us, into assisted living or something. I felt something cold move through my chest. I didn't say that. She finally looked at me then. Well, that's what he told us. He said you agreed. I turned slowly toward the counter, where Richard's coffee mug sat empty, steam still rising from it. I didn't agree to anything, I said. Melissa sighed, like I was being difficult. Mom, Dad said it was all arranged. The realtor already came by. That was the first crack that didn't heal back together. I called Richard immediately after she left. He answered on the second ring. Hey, hon, he said like nothing was wrong. Did you tell Melissa we're selling the house? A pause. Too long. We talked about it, yeah, he said. It's too much house for you now. You've been forgetting things. It's safer this way. I gripped the counter so hard, my knuckles turned white. I didn't forget anything, Richard. Another pause. We'll talk when I get home, he said. But he didn't come home early that night. He came home late, smelling like whiskey and exhaustion. He avoided my eyes the entire time. That was when I started noticing his phone. He never left it face up anymore. He used to toss it on the table without thinking. Now it stayed in his pocket or face down, or with him even when he went to the bathroom. I told myself not to become that woman, the suspicious wife, the paranoid one. But suspicion has a way of growing teeth when you feed it silence. A week later, I found the papers. I wasn't looking for them. I was just cleaning the office, something I used to do all the time without thinking. Dusting shelves, organizing files. The folder was in the bottom drawer of Richard's desk. Locked, but not well. The key was in his usual hiding place, under a stack of old tax papers. Inside were documents I didn't understand at first. My name, his name, the house deed, then something worse, a transfer agreement. Signed, my signature. I stared at it for a long time. My hands went numb. I know my own handwriting. I know the way my name curves at the end. That wasn't it, but it was close enough that someone who didn't know me might believe it, or someone who wanted to believe it. My heart started beating too fast. I sat down on the office chair and felt like the room had tilted. Then I saw the second set of papers: power of attorney, health decisions, financial control, all signed, all supposedly mine. I couldn't breathe right. I don't remember standing up, but I was suddenly in the hallway, holding those papers like they were burning my skin. Richard came home an hour later. I was sitting at the kitchen table when he walked in. He looked at my face and immediately knew something was wrong. "What did you do?" I asked. He set his keys down slowly. "We needed to secure things," he said. My voice came out smaller than I wanted. "Secure what you've been forgetting things," he said again. "You've been confused. Melissa and Brandon agreed it was best. My children." I laughed once, sharp and broken. "You forged my signature." He didn't deny it right away. "We did what we had to do," he said quietly. "The accounts were getting complicated. The taxes, the house. It was for protection. Protection from me." He finally looked at me then. Really looked. "You've been under a lot of stress," he said. That was the moment something inside me changed shape. Not broke, changed, like it stopped being soft. I stood up slowly. "Where is my money, Richard?" He hesitated. "We invested it. Melissa handled some of it," he said quickly. "Brandon too. It's all still in the family. My family, the same family that stopped calling, the same family that told me I was getting old and confused." I walked past him into the bedroom and opened my closet. Half my clothes were gone. That's when I realized this wasn't something happening to me. It had already happened. Over time, quietly, while I was making dinner and folding laundry and trusting people who had stopped earning it. The next days were a blur of phone calls, banks, lawyers, offices that smelled like carpet cleaner and cold air. Everywhere I went, I got the same look. Polite confusion, then pity, then nothing. "Your signature appears valid, ma'am. We'll need to review this. This may take time." Time was something I didn't have anymore. It was already spent. Melissa stopped answering my calls. Brandon sent a text once. "Mom, we think you should rest. Dad is handling everything." Rest. I remember staring at that word for a long time. I wasn't tired. I was erased. The worst part wasn't the money. Not at first. It was the realization that my entire life had become negotiable without me. I went to Melissa's house one afternoon without telling her. She opened the door and looked shocked to see me. "Mom," she said quietly, "you shouldn't be driving." "Am I sick?" I asked her. She didn't answer. "Is that what Dad told you?" Her eyes flickered. "Mom, just go home, okay? We're trying to help you." "Help me?" I looked past her into her living room. My granddaughter Sophie was on the floor playing with blocks. She looked up and smiled when she saw me. That smile almost destroyed me. I knelt down and held her for a moment. She smelled like baby shampoo and juice. Melissa stood over us awkwardly. "Dad said it's temporary," she said. Temporary. She wouldn't meet my eyes. "We're just trying to make sure you're safe." From what I wanted to scream, but I didn't, because something worse was starting to settle in me. Not anger, clarity. I left without arguing. That night I sat in my car in a grocery store parking lot for 2 hours without moving. I kept thinking about all the times I had defended them. When neighbors hinted that Melissa was distant, I said she was busy. When Brandon forgot my birthday, I said young men forget things. When Richard started hiding his phone, I said marriages change. I had built a whole life out of excuses, and now there were none left that worked. The legal battle started quietly. A lawyer named Mr. Collins with tired eyes and a voice like he had seen too many families fall apart. He told me something I will never forget. "This kind of thing happens more than people think," he said. That didn't make it better. It made it real. We filed to contest the documents. We froze accounts. We requested audits. Richard didn't come to the first hearing. Melissa did. She wore a black blazer, like she was already mourning something. She didn't look at me once. When the judge asked her if she believed her mother was mentally unfit, she paused. Then she said yes. That word hit harder than anything else. Yes, like it was simple, like I wasn't sitting 10 feet away, hearing my entire existence reduced to a word. I remember gripping the bench so hard my hands shook. I wanted to stand up and tell them everything. Every school play, every scraped knee, every night I stayed up when she had a fever, every dollar I gave without asking for it back. But none of that mattered in that room. Only signatures, only paperwork, only versions of me I didn't recognize. Richard testified a week later. He looked tired, smaller somehow. He said I had been declining for years. He said I had become forgetful, emotional, unstable. He said it like he was describing weather. When I looked at him, I kept waiting for something human to break through. It didn't. After that hearing, I stopped trying to convince anyone of anything. I realized something simple. They had already decided who I was, and I was the only one still arguing. The court eventually appointed a temporary financial guardian. Not me, someone else. My accounts were sealed off from me like I was a stranger. I moved into a small apartment on the edge of town. 1 bedroom, thin walls, a view of a parking lot. The silence there was different from the silence in my old house. This one wasn't empty. It was final. Richard filed for legal separation 6 months later. He didn't show up to sign the papers in person. His lawyer handled it. Melissa sent no message. Brandon stopped responding completely. I saw them once after that. At a hospital, Richard had a mild heart issue. Nothing fatal. I was sitting in the waiting room when Melissa walked in with Brandon. They froze when they saw me. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Melissa looked away like I wasn't there. Brandon nodded once. Polite, distant, that was all. I remember thinking how strange it is that people who once ran into your arms can now walk past you like your furniture. Richard was discharged 2 days later. No one told me. I found out through a neighbor. Life after that became something quieter than sadness. Sadness at least has movement. This was stillness. I worked part-time at a pharmacy just to leave the apartment, stocking shelves, greeting strangers who didn't know my name or my history or my collapse. Some nights I would come home and sit in the dark and try to remember what it felt like to be needed. I couldn't always get there. Holidays passed like they belonged to another family. On Thanksgiving, I made a small plate of food and ate it alone at my kitchen counter. On Christmas, I turned off the lights and pretended I was asleep early. Sometimes I would see photos online. Someone would tag Melissa, family dinner, smiles, new traditions. I wasn't in them. That used to hurt in a sharp way. Now it just sits there, like a stone that never dissolves. I don't think I hate them. That's the strange part. I think I loved them in a way that made it possible for them to forget I was a person. That might be the hardest truth I've ever had to carry. Last week, I drove past our old house. Someone else lives there now. Different car in the driveway. Different curtains. I parked across the street for a long time. I expected to feel something big, but I didn't. I just felt tired, like I had walked a long distance and finally stopped. I don't know if they think about me anymore. Maybe they don't. Maybe I've become a story they tell differently depending on who is listening. Maybe I was always easier to rewrite than to understand. I'm still here though, still making coffee in a quiet kitchen, still washing plates that don't need washing, still answering a phone that rarely rings. And sometimes I wonder if the worst part wasn't losing them. It was realizing how easily I could be lost while still standing in the middle of my own life. Tonight I sit by the window of my small apartment and watch the streetlights flicker on one by one. The world outside keeps moving like nothing happened. Inside me, everything is slower now, heavier, and I understand something I didn't understand before. You don't always hear the moment you're being erased. Sometimes you only notice it when you try to call your own name out loud and realize no one is coming anymore.